Good morning, everybody. I hope that this video finds you all healthy and safe. And we're going to start out with the core practice. So find a comfortable spot to sit, relax, close your eyes, and take deep breaths. So today I was thinking about what I was grateful for, and I looked out my window that's that way, and I see I think it's a weeping cherry tree. And I guess I'm grateful for that and my magnolia tree that I have in my yard because every year around this time, like the next couple weeks, my weeping cherry and my magnolia bloom. And they only bloom for a few days, but they're beautiful. And I just love this time of year when I can watch that happen. So I'm grateful for those today because they kind of give me a little bit of hope when I look out and see them. I'll try to post a picture of my weeping cherry in the comments. I think it's a weeping cherry. I'm not sure. But it bloomed just the other day, and my magnolia hasn't bloomed yet, but it's about to. So that's what I'm grateful for today. So today's chapter is called Ramona Sits. We'll have to figure out what that means. Ramona put her class picture out of her mind entirely. She had other things to worry about. I wish I would hurry up and be old enough to babysit, she confided to Beezus one cold, wet morning as she watched her sister put on a new t-shirt she had bought with money that she had earned. I've had a lot of practice with Roberta when Mother is busy. I know I could do it. Beezus looked thoughtful. Maybe. She was not so sure. She looked at her sister, who was pulling on her socks as she lay on her bed with her feet in the air. You're really more of a cheerleader type. I am? Ramona sat up, startled at this insight into her character. How come? Oh, you know, Beezus airily waved her hand. You're always jumping around and waving things. Ramona did not know what to say, so she said, I don't care. I want to babysit. That was why one afternoon, shortly before semester break, Ramona came home from school and faced her mother with a question. If I'm not old enough to babysit, am I old enough to cat sit? Mrs. Quimby thought a moment before she asked, Are you asking about cats in general or about one specific cat? Daisy's brother's cat, Claude, explained Ramona. The family is going down to Roseburg to be with Daisy's grandparents during semester break. They take their dog in the car, but they have to take Claude to the kitty corner, and Claude will be unhappy because he'll be shut up in a cage and nobody will pet him. Oh, said Mrs. Quimby. Mother, Ramona was impatient. Claude is a really nice cat. He doesn't claw furniture or anything. Daisy said when he stayed at the kitty corner at Christmas, he came home all grouchy. Besides, Daisy's mother will pay me for cat sitting. Oh, Mrs. Quimby smiled. It sounds to me as if you and Daisy have this all figured out. Ramona pressed on. If Beezus can babysit, I don't see why. Ramona, Mrs. Quimby, no longer smiling, interrupted. I really can't drive you to Daisy's house every day to feed a cat. With Roberta, it would be too much. Ramona was not a girl to give up easily. We could bring Claude here. We used to have a cat. She took a deep breath and prepared for major pleading. If necessary, she would even whine. Please, please, I'll take care of him and everything. You wouldn't have to do a thing, and I just know Roberta would love to pet him. Mrs. Quimby sighed. Well, as long as you agree to be entirely responsible for him. How long did you say they would be gone? Just a week, said Ramona. Just a teeny tiny short week. Mrs. Quimby's smile returned. There is no such thing as a short week. A week is 7 days, no more, no less. All right, you may look after Claude for a week if Daisy's family can bring him here. But remember, he is your responsibility and no one else's. Delighted to have a chance to be responsible, Ramona ran to the phone to call Daisy with the good news. Several days later, Mrs. Kidd, Daisy, and Jeremy delivered yowling, angry Claude in his carrier, along with his litter box, a bag of litter, a brush, canned and dried cat food, 2 dishes, and a square carpet-covered construction with 2 holes, one above the other, each big enough for Claude to hide in. Jeremy built Claude's scratching post himself. Daisy was proud of her brother. We call it Claude's kitty condo. Ramona had not thought of Claude's equipment. She had expected an unencumbered cat. Mrs. Kidd unfastened the latch on the carrier. This will be much better for Claude, she said. He will settle down as soon as he has a chance to look around. We can't thank you enough. That's perfectly all right, said Mrs. Quimby. Ramona is eager to take care of him. Claude sat down and began to use his rough tongue to smooth his rumpled fur and to wash away the taint of his cage. Ramona eyed the litter box. She had pictured herself holding and petting Claude while she looked at TV or read a book. At that point, Beezus came into the room, looked at Claude, and said, "Don't expect me to empty his litter box. I am not the one who's responsible." Then she noticed Jeremy, quickly changed the tone of her voice, and said, "Oh, hello, Jeremy." "Hello, Beatrice." Jeremy turned red. "Come on, kids. We have a zillion things to do." Mrs. Kidd hugged Ramona and said, "I thank you. Claude thanks you. We all thank you. Oh, and don't forget to brush him every day. That way he won't throw up so many hairballs." "You're welcome," said Ramona with as much enthusiasm as she could muster. She disliked the smell of canned cat food, and she did not want to think about hairballs. Jeremy bent over to stroke Claude. "So long, you old rascal. I'll miss you." Claude rubbed against Jeremy's legs, and the family departed with the carrier, leaving Ramona in charge of the cat. "Nice kitty," Ramona tried to mean it. Claude paused in licking his paw to look at her. Then he continued washing as if he did not care to associate with her. "Ramona, take the litter box to the basement." Mrs. Quimby spoke in a brisk, no-nonsense voice. Ramona knew she had no choice but to do as she was told. When she returned, Beezus was holding Roberta and saying, "See the kitty? See the nice kitty?" Roberta's thoughts did not show. She had not made up her mind about Claude, who ignored everything but his own paw and fur. "You might put out some food and water for him so he'll feel more at home," suggested Ramona's mother. Ramona spread newspapers on the floor in front of the kitchen, set out Claude's dishes, and with the electric can opener opened a can of puss putty. Phew! One whiff, and she tried not to breathe. Claude, recognizing the sound of a can opener, came running to investigate. "There, your Royal Highness," Ramona spoke crossly. Claude chose to ignore her. She tried to make up for speaking so disagreeably by stroking him, but Claude merely turned his head long enough to give her a look that said, "You are not my friend." After eating, he explored the house before he curled up in a hole in his kitty condo and stared balefully out at the Quimbys' living room. Then he went to sleep. Later that evening, Mrs. Quimby said to Ramona, "Bedtime for your boarder. You'd better shut him in the basement." Claude had different ideas. "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty," coaxed Ramona. Claude glared from the hole in his post. "Come on, puss, puss," wheedled Beezus, trying to help. After all, she really liked cats. Claude ignored her, his chin still resting on his paws. Mrs. Quimby reached into the hole and stroked the cat's head. "Good kitty," she whispered. Claude closed his eyes. "I'll show you how to deal with an old tomcat." Mr. Quimby picked up the carpeted post, turned it on its side, and dumped Claude onto the carpet. "Catch him," he directed. Ramona tackled Claude and picked him up. Claude went limp. "Nice kitty cat," she said, trying to make up for the indignity of him being dumped. He was heavier than she expected. Mr. Quimby scratched Claude's ear. Into the basement, old boy," he said. Ramona lugged the cat to the basement door, set him down on the top step, and closed the door quickly. She thought better of this unkindness, opened the door a crack, and said, "Nighty-night, Claude." The cat was silent. He was silent, that is, until the family was in bed asleep. He then began to protest. He yowled at the basement door. He meowed pitifully and yowled some more. Except for Roberta, who always slept soundly, the whole family was awake. "Ramona," Mr. Quimby called out, "do something about that cat." "What am I supposed to do?" asked Ramona, only half awake. "Just cope," said her father. This annoyed Ramona. Now that she was in the 4th grade, her parents often told her to cope when she wanted help. Without bothering with slippers, she stumbled sleepily down the hall, faintly illuminated by the tiny green light on the electric toothbrush in the bathroom. The kitchen linoleum felt cold to her feet as she opened the basement door. Come on, you old cat, she said, and felt Claude brush against her nightgown. See if I care what you do. What Claude did was sleep on the living room couch. He had won. In the morning, when the Quimbys were getting out of bed, he yawned, stretched, went to his water dish, decided he didn't care for it, strolled into the bathroom, and drank out of the toilet. You old scoundrel, muttered Mr. Quimby through the sound of his electric razor. That's where we'll stop today. Here is Claude drinking out of the toilet. So I hope you all have a really good weekend, and I will see you back here on Monday. Stay safe.